Now, I've made some pretty big mistakes when it comes to purchasing multi-tools and selling them. And I hope today I can kind of correct some of my mistakes by replacing tools that I have since gotten rid of or never bought in the first place. So we're going to talk about why these three tools represent some of my biggest mistakes or oversights in my past history. And have a little fun while we're doing it. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first tool we're going to be talking about is a Leatherman Rebar. Now, I have a standard issue right here we're going to do a quick comparison to, but this one is actually the Knifeless Rebar. And I think it's a tool that Leatherman does not push nearly hard enough. I've never gotten it because I've been modifying multi-tools for so long that if I wanted a specific tool set, like a bladeless one, I would do it myself. That being said, I think it's important to have one in the collection that I can showcase because it is one of the tools that is kind of irreplaceable. There's not much out there like it. So I wanted to go ahead and get one for the collection. So here it is. This is the Knifeless Rebar. And the big deal here is that it has every tool in the rebar plus one, but does not have any of the blades. Well, okay, what's the point of that? Well, if you are someone who likes to carry a folding knife primarily, and you're not going to give up doing that, plus you don't like the fact that most multi-tools use pretty soft steels, this might be a very good idea for you. So this tool just basically has everything that your knife really doesn't do well. Okay, so we have the saw for cutting notches into wood or cutting things completely. You have a reamer awl for drilling holes. You have a scissor for cutting fibrous materials as well as hygiene related stuff. You have a number of flatheads and Phillips drivers. So all of these tools combine to being a very good complementary tool set. Now, the other thing that I like about this is it's a very compact tool and is only 178 grams or 6.3 ounces, which is pretty solid. I think that's the same weight, right? No, it's actually even lighter, in fact, than the original version of the rebar. I needed one of these in my collection. It's going to come up in an upcoming video where we do a top 10 series. So this is a little bit of a spoiler. But yeah, Knifeless Rebar. Something that Leatherman should be pushing, and they don't. They really, really should, because I think there's a whole group of people that want to carry a multi-tool, but don't want to carry the kind of redundancy, especially when you have a better knife steel in your folding knife. Well, here you go. All right, this is probably my biggest selling mistake. I have had two exact copies of this tool in the past. I had one, then sold it, then had one, then traded it, and it's a stupid mistake. I should have never done this because, well, let's just say Ben from Texas Tool Crib is right. This tool represents basically the pinnacle of Leatherman's engineering prowess. It really, really is. And it deserves a video all by itself, and we will absolutely do that now that I have one again. And yeah, it's the Leatherman MUT. I pretty much never, I loved it. It's beautiful, but I never carried it for a couple of different reasons. But yeah, because I never carried it, I thought it was fine. Hey, I'll get rid of it. And then it went out of stock for a while, and then I got really nervous that I'll never get one again. So here we are with the Leatherman MUT. Now, this is a tool specifically designed to complement the AR firearm platform. Okay, and this tool is built to support that other item. It has functions that are specifically helpful in that endeavor. It has a punch to disassemble the lower receiver. It has a bronze scraper to remove carbon buildup and different components. And it has even the ability to help you with a jam where you can actually use this to hook into the slide and basically pull the whole thing back so you don't have to stick your fingers in there. And if it's really bad or the spring is really strong, you're not going to have to worry about it coming slamming down on your finger. So it's a really nice purpose-driven tool. And then on top of that, it has some excellent implements that are really just universal. Like this is the actual thickest and just most robust blade that Leatherman has made in any multi-tool, as far as I know. It has the highest thickness, the thickest tip by far, and yeah, it's very similar to the Signal, it's just longer, okay? And then on the other side, it also has, I believe, also the longest saw made by, in any Leatherman. And this one is really cool because it tapers like this. It actually functions as a way to drill very, very deep holes into wood after you start it with the bronze scraper. So yeah, really, really useful for a lot of different tasks, and it's a pretty complementary tool set. I could go in a lot further on this. It has so much going for it. It has these mechanisms to store the extra long bits that are on the inside. I mean, I don't want to get into it. It's just too much to cover in a short video, which I'm trying to make this. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but it's amazing. And then on top of it, it has storage for extra long bits, so you don't have to deal with the problems that are normally associated with using bit drivers. It's just a really cool tool. And I really regret getting rid of it because it's really a good showcase of how good Leatherman is at engineering purpose-driven tools. I like that they make specialty tools. I'm sorry they don't make more of them. I know that it's not as profitable, but damn, they make an amazing specialized tool set. Now, one thing I wanted to check real quick is the weight. 10.7. That doesn't seem right. Now, here's the interesting thing. I think that they list a different weight on their website. Did I say it right? Website. I think this is the weight that they're actually listing. But this is a little bit lighter than I expected it to be. I mean, it is certainly wide and a little bit bulky and kind of difficult to use with just the clip. But I gotta be honest, it's lighter than I expected it to be. I remember it feeling a little heavier, but it's only slightly heavier than the Super Tool 300. Very, very interesting. We'll definitely be doing a separate video on this. I'm just glad to have it back in the collection because it is absolutely worthy of being here and being a permanent fixture in that collection. Now let's move on to probably something I've made a major mistake with. I've gone back and forth with this tool so many times, it's crazy. I've disassembled it, I've sacrificed parts for the Free P2 that I customized a while back, but I realized that I need to have this in my collection because there are a group of individuals where this tool is just going to be the best solution. And that's kind of why it's back in the fold. For starters, here's the number one thing that I underestimated. The fact that you can open a blade left-handed. And that's not a small thing, okay? I didn't really comprehend just how important it was to have a left-handed option for people. I guess I should know better. And so this does that. And it's not just that it's left-handed, with just the blade. It's left-handed across the board, whether it's the plier head or it's any of the other implements. I can easily manipulate them left-handed, even though I'm not super practiced with doing that. And that is applicable even if you're right-handed, because sometimes you're going to be holding something with your right hand. You need to get access to a small item or a small tool in this thing, and you don't have to let go. You can just manipulate the whole thing with your left hand. I really underestimated the value that that gave. There's another thing too. I saw a video where one of the Alone contestants brought the Leatherman Free P4, which I thought was a very interesting choice. But he had tried a number of multi-tools before that point and concluded that this was the best tool set for him specifically. And once I saw some of his videos where he showcased the kinds of projects he was planning on doing, it started to make sense how this could be such a good outdoorsman's tool. The one-handed nature, the relatively complete tool set, and importantly, didn't have any components that could fall out and be lost. So he knew that it would always be exactly what he needed in the moment because he had practiced with that tool. Which indicates to me, one, it's probably a better outdoorsman's tool than I gave it credit for, and two, it's probably a really, really good tool for new users. I think they marketed this thing completely wrong. They kept saying this was the replacement for the Wave, and it is absolutely not a replacement for the Leatherman Wave. It doesn't, I mean, so many people have made videos on this, and I think that screwed them from the get-go. They should not have done that because it is a great concept, and there are a group of people that would love this thing, but they put it in the wrong category and marketed it to the wrong people. This would have been the tool, and I think can still be the tool that draws people into the multi-tool world because it gives you a certain kind of experience that is unique and very fun. I gotta say, I mean, you could say what you want about this. Maybe it's a little, I don't know, maybe a little silly. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. But you gotta admit, it's fun to play with. And when you think about the fact that the entire knife industry is basically centered around the fact that people like to play with their knives like fidget toys, this is like the fidget toy of the multi-tool world. This and, of course, the free P2. I think the P2 also has merit, but it was important that I get this back in my collection. And I have an upcoming video where I talk about it at length, so I'm not going to go into it too far. I just think that this is a bigger consideration for people than I originally thought. And so if you're either A, just thinking about trying a multi-tool for the first time, but maybe you're a knife person, or you're an outdoorsman, I mean, I think this could be a really good choice, even though it is quite expensive. That doesn't mean, though, when I look at the price point compared to a folding knife in that same price point, I'm not sure it's that far-fetched. Not as far-fetched as I thought. And just as a reminder, look at the plier head on this thing. You might notice something important. This one actually says, Made in USA, right there. And that is because, in part, they don't have those replaceable bit holders that are made in Mexico. They don't, they have enough components here that they can actually reach that 70% mark and can actually call it Made in USA. Now, all multi-tools from Leatherman are assembled in America, but this tool, one of the biggest things they pointed out, and is still true, is that this is actually stamped with the USA stamp, and that's no small thing. So if that's your sticking point, yeah, the free P4 is a really good choice. Now, in the past, I've absolutely made mistakes, and I think it was important to kind of rectify some of those by putting these back in the collection, especially the Leatherman MUT, the Knifeless Rebar. And although I could reassemble the free P4, I have plans for that frame. I have a lot of aftermarket components that I'm going to put into a completely custom free P4 to kind of see how far we can take it, because it is a pretty darn cool platform. And like they said in their video when they were marketing this thing, these pliers are very, very strong. So I think it's actually a very good platform to customize, more so than I gave it credit for. Anyway, thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and we're going to talk again real soon.